Okay, guys, welcome to what is this, week 8 or something like that? Um, I'm planning these classes out as they're needed, in my opinion, based on what's going on in today's market. If we weren't going through Corona stuff, I might have done things a little bit differently, but I'm trying to get these classes going to what is going to benefit you guys the most right away. I hate this. My hair. If I wasn't in my closet, maybe I'd take it off completely, but it's the only quiet place in here. Oh, there's Howard right now. So what I wanted to do, hey buddy, how are you?
What's going on?
Oh, nothing. I'm just introducing the class. Hang in there for a second. So what I'm trying to do is bring these classes to you guys as they're needed. And I feel right now in our market, there's two things that need to happen. We need to be very active in our prospecting right now, especially we need to call our expireds, our canceleds, our previous canceleds and expireds, and especially for sell by owners. And that's going to be the theme of, I think, next week or the week after. But there's no wait for me, trust me. They're on the YouTube channel and on the podcast. We have expired for sell by owner training. The podcast I recommend the most, it's got for sell by owners part 1 and 2. And those are also, the for sell by owner training is just as good for expired. So I want you guys to all jump on that right now. But whatever, we had Grant Wise on. We talked a little bit about Whitley a few weeks ago. And I told you guys, I said there's only 2 things in this entire 90-day program I'm going to ask you to buy. 2 things. Number 1, Whitley. Number 2, Ylopo. So whether you want to buy leads or not, whether you want to partner with Ylopo or not, Howard is on this today. And let me tell you a little bit about Howard. I'll give you my introduction. Howard is what we call an industry man. He's been in the business for since most of us were born. He started Tiger Leads. You guys probably remember that back in the day. And not only is Howard really good at online lead generating, but he's an advocate for real estate agents. Every other lead source, for the most part, is trying some way, somehow to steal your job and get you out of the business. Realtor.com, Zillow, Redfin, these are all our enemies, in my opinion. And Howard has a company that wants to partner with real estate agents and never wants to get rid of us. So you guys have to understand that. And G is his partner, and these guys are dedicated 100% to advocating for real estate agents, training us. If you don't know, Howard's been taking a tremendous amount of his own time helping real estate agents, not only with Ylopo, but also with how to get the PPP plan and the idle plans and keeping up to date with that, having massive webinars in the Ylopo success community with 600 people on one the other day. But Howard's also good friends with the top agents in the world, texting basis, talks to them all the time. I went to dinner in Vegas one time with Howard, and at the table, I was the only person at the table that wasn't the #1 agent in the state. Like, Howard's connections and Howard's ability to bring you guys amazing events and amazing relationships that can teach all of us is mind-blowing. So you'll see there's very few people in this industry that I trust and that I'm willing to bring to you guys, because you guys are kind of like my babies and I love you and I want to protect you. So I'm only going to bring to you people that are time-tested, proven, and advocates for real estate agents, and people that will absolutely change your career if you let them. So again, let me talk really quick about my feelings on this. Yes, I will push things that I know work, right? And I'm going to have Howard talk about it, but there's a lot of things about branding. There's a lot of things about retargeting, remarketing, pay-per-click, Facebook ads, database management, all the things that I believe in, Howard and G have perfected. And some of the #1 agents in the world use these systems, so we should probably consider them too. Ylopo builds unbelievable websites. And they have some of the same core values as me and my company, which is agile, being able to adapt and shift fast. And Howard has proven that in the last several weeks working with the agents. So welcome, Howard Tager, to the program. How are you, my friend?
How's it going, man? How's it going?
It's going amazing. So you kind of heard the things that I wanted to talk about, and you and I didn't practice this because I know you can bring enough value about retargeting, remarketing, and database management, all that stuff. I'm going to invite you guys, if you're listening to the podcast, make sure you go to Mike Bjorkman Training or the real estate market, just realestatemarketingshow.com later and watch the video, because I'm sure Howard's got a slideshow queued up, right?
Well, I mean, look, this is a little bit
You don't have
free form. It doesn't have to be so formal. We can,
whatever.
kind of borrow from a few different. We've been doing a lot of webinars, a lot of
Right.
presentations. We can borrow from a few,
Okay.
different ones that we've
All
been
right.
doing. So we've got, I've got, the presentation that's kind of my favorite right now. That's getting huge response, which is the database is forever, and that's just showing you the importance of building up your database over time, so that you can produce basically what I call forever income producing
And I've
machine.
heard that, and I want to touch bases on that.
Yeah,
So,
so I've got that one queued up, and then we have one that we did basically just last week, which is just, we call that cultivate today, conquer tomorrow. So that's very sort of crisis specific. We had built a lot of virtual tools for our clients, so they can do a completely sort of physically distant virtual funnel in terms of working with buyers, and virtual funnel working with sellers. We can get into that if people want to, but we start off with just going over some of the sort of marketing stats. But we don't have to waste too much time in the stats. We can just basically tell you, we know statistically that our CPLs right now, our cost per leads, both on social media and on Google, are off the charts in terms of how cost effective they are. And if people want to know why they're so cost effective now, it's because this crisis flushed out a lot of the competition. And basically in both social media and in Google pay-per-click world, it's a 24/7 auction, right?
yeah.
And the more people that want to buy ads, the higher the prices go, right? So we're in a 24/7 bidding process with everybody else, and when it flushes out the competition, guess what? We can get way more ad impressions out for the same dollars.
Right. So
On
what
the
I want to do, Howard,
remarketing,
real quick,
yeah,
not to interrupt
yeah,
you too bad, I want to keep this class somewhat evergreen, right? So we can bring up COVID, but I don't want to go through the whole thing and just say, this is how we're dealing with just COVID, like all the virtual stuff, things that you think that'll last over the next 6 months or so until we redo this.
yeah.
Let's talk about the theory of the ads, the theory of the database and things like that, and mix in small things about what the market's doing. But I want people to know about coming out of this too, how to adapt to, let's say, the real market, the normal market, or even the new normal, right? So there's a lot of agents that are brand new, intermediate, or people that have never used Facebook ads or used pay-per-click. I want them to understand, even after this, how it's going to greatly affect and blow up their business. So
Yeah,
keep
well,
all
I think
that in mind if you
Mike,
can.
where I'm tying it together
Right.
is the whole point of what we're going to go through is the importance of building up a database. It's like really, really immensely important. And we'll talk about why that's more important than ever. But, I would say high level, we're going to go into it, sort of 3 takeaways for why you need to build up a database, right? Is the highest level, you can produce an income producing machine that can outlive you. So if you were to get sick, if you were to get hit by the proverbial bus, right? If you didn't want to stay in production yourself, if you wanted to take a cruise for 2 months at some point, cruise is the wrong word, but when the world gets right, you have something that you've built of very serious value beyond your own name. I just see far too often in this business, it's all about building up your name, your name, your name. But I've never built a company, and I'm on my 3rd and largest company, right? I've never built a company that was called Howard Tager Inc. Because I actually don't want it to be about me or my brand, right? Ylopo has a name. It has a brand that will live beyond me. And if I do get hit by a bus tomorrow, Ylopo will live on, right? It's about building a system, a brand, right? A system that will produce income for my heirs if I were to go away. Okay, so there's that. But if I can convince you as we get into the numbers of why the building a database works, there's 2 things to understand that's happening right now. One is we have never, and this is my second big company in the space, we've always had the lead generation tools, right? We've never had the lead nurture, the automated lead nurture, and automated, you can write these things down because they're different, and automated lead communication. Those are 2 very different things. We've never had those tools, Mike, that we've had now. We didn't have them, we had sort of nurture tools, and I could talk about like old school, I call 1.0. And there's still a lot of companies out there that to me are still 1.0 because I used to compete with them when I was running Tiger. And they're so old school now, it's crazy. And they still have the 1.0 lead nurture tools. The lead communication tools now, specifically AI, right, where you can have a digital ISA for a couple of $100 a month versus $2,000 to $5,000 a month, right? And these people are, I mean, I was, here quarantined with my girlfriend. She runs a team, and boom, Sunday morning, she's like, "Oh, this is awesome!" Like we call it Raya, because real estate AI is your assistant. Our new mantra is Raya for the win. So our clients come in, they're like, Raya for the win, because they wake up and there's this conversation going on, and someone's like, "Yeah, I'd like to go see this home, or I'd like to virtually go see this home," right? So we've never had the tools before where you could nurture and communicate with your database automatically, which just reduces your workload. That, like before, it was like, yeah, this giant database. I mean, my God, where do I have the manpower to work it, right? Third, and this is very just sort of crisis specific, is there's never, ever been a better time to build and cultivate a database than right now. We know this statistically and anecdotally. Statistically, having a hard time speaking, statistically, leads are plentiful, they are cost effective, folks are home, they're online, they're literally searching for homes, they're looking at their home values. People are going to want to make moves, right, after this whole thing is over. We're going to have over 1 million, by my analysis, over 1 million units of pent up demand. And as Lawrence Yun said, it's not like, they're going away. They're just been postponed. On top of the normal 400,000 to 500,000 units, we'll have 1.5 million units that have to transact once we're out there. So you want to go grab as much market share now. You will regret not doing this now. Going in your corner and hiding and waiting for things to settle, you're going to regret that, because those folks who are actually going out and building this database and communicating and developing relationships, they're going to crush it. They're going to have massive market share when we come out, right? And anecdotally, our clients are telling us that people have never been more chatty because they're less busy now, right? When you got the brush off before, they're not getting the brush off. They're getting really long conversations. So that's kind of at the very, very high level. I will share my screen. And so you guys can see this. Can you see this, Mike?
Yeah.
And I think what we'll do is go into, let's see here. Going to present. How's that?
Yeah, good. We're super casual around here, so just feel free to whatever you need to do, buddy.
Okay. So I called this prez Databases Forever. Why did I call it a Databases Forever? How to build a long-term money-making machine. Sounds a little cheesy, but it's actually really true. I called it a Databases Forever because, Mike, you know me, like things resonate with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, so for example, right now during coronavirus, a couple of things resonating with me. One was like literally I woke up when the shit really hit the fan. I woke up with the opening scene of Gladiator of all movies, right? And Russell Crowe basically, sort of urging on his troops before they go into the opening battle scene, and is what we do in life echoes in eternity. Now I changed that, right, for our group, which is what we do right now with our own consumers, right? What we do right now for them will echo in eternity with them. What we do for our own clients at Ylopo Leadership, for our own clients right now, all the stuff we give them, all the free tools, all the webinars, all the, resources, what we do now, hopefully they will remember forever. And I want you guys to use that analogy for your own business. What you do right now for your sphere, right, for your group will live forever. So a diamond is forever was voted the #1 ad slogan of the century. Why is that? Because prior to World War II, and I don't know if you know this, Mike, prior to World War II, literally fewer than 10% of all engagement rings had diamonds in them.
Isn't that crazy?
Think about that, right? Before World War II, fewer than 10. It was only for the aristocracy. It was only for the super, super rich folks, the royalty, right? They gave diamond rings. Nobody else did. Well, sort of, in, the sort of, I think it was late 30s, sort of early 40s, they hired an ad company and they came up with the slogan, "A diamond is forever." And it did two things for them. One is it got people saying, if you don't give a diamond as part of the engagement ring, you're not saying that this marriage is going to be forever. That was really critical. Number two is they had a problem. Their problem was the diamond industry has always been artificially setting the price of diamonds, right? They have been advertising that a diamond is a precious commodity, but it's not. It's like dirt. There's so many diamonds in the world. If you just let them all out, they'd be worth cents. They'd be worth pennies. Nobody knows that, okay? So what they had to prevent was people reselling their diamonds, right? You just like, oh, I got this diamond. I want to get a new one. I'm going to go sell it, right? So you had to keep it because if you kept it, there was no other exchange of pricing to then drop down the price of diamonds. So what they built was the greatest long-term money-making machine that outlived them. It outlived any executive. It outlived any owner. We still have that expression, and there's no De Beers ad that doesn't have that expression, okay? So the question is what are you building that's going to outlive you in a sense? When I say outlive you, it doesn't mean that you're dead, right? It just means that at some point you have a machine. You have a money-making machine, and you can actually, at that point, sit back a little bit. And you can actually, at that point, completely drop your new lead gen spend if you want once you get to a certain size. So this is all about building a large database of relationships, creating a never-ending pipeline of transactions. This is what I call the money shot, all right? And I'm kind of teasing it up front because I want to go over it in detail later, but it shows you when you take your database from 5,000 leads. Now, I say leads, and you all have heard me say this before. Leads are people. They're not inanimate objects. When we say leads, they become inanimate objects. Think about them as relationships. So I'm going to use the word relationships, not leads. So a database of 5,000 relationships versus a database of 25,000 relationships that maybe takes you 5 years to build, or a relationship of 50,000 relationships, or a database of 100,000 relationships. Look at your annual gross income that you can produce based on the size of these databases. And these are at like shockingly low conversion numbers. So Mike, if you look at percent of database closed per year, you're only closing 1/3 of 1% of your database to get these numbers, okay? I factor in your remarketing cost. I do factor in this is really built for our clients, your digital ISA, but AI is like, you're not gonna stop it right now, right? And there's no new lead gen, right? So I factored in, like if you were a Ylopo client, your platform costs. Like I'm factoring in a lot of costs, right? But your sales, right? Then your GCI was at 2.5%. This is built just on an average home price of 250, right? With a GCI, with a commission percentage of 2.5%, right? And there's your gross monthly commission income, your monthly net profit, right? And your return on your database investment. And it's shockingly high, your ROI. And again, to bullshit test this, I know that the folks I'm talking to here in your group can do better than converting 1/3 of 1%.
I was going to say, yeah, it's pretty bad.
Right. So let's take a look at my largest client in the world. And he's literally probably the largest team in the world. There's a little bit of definitional arguing over whether or not he's an independent broker or a team. Either way, I don't really care what you call him. He's a badass, right? Mm-hmm. So Robert Slack, he loves to give me shit. He always talks about how like I had a trust fund, which I don't know where he got that idea. Because I remember when I was in college and my dad said, this like I was a freshman in college and my dad said, the day you graduate, you're completely cut off. And it's not like my dad was Bill Gates anyway. I was like, yeah, I understand that. Right. So like, I never even got to take like a week of vacation after I graduated. I've been working, ever since. So, but anyway, I let it roll. It's just really funny. He likes to think that I was a trust fund baby, but I started my first company. I've started all my companies in my dining room table. Like I've never even been able to afford an office when I started my company, just so you guys know. Right. So we started our first company, I think all told, we scrounged together literally $1,500. Okay, $1,500. It was way before you could run around as a 26-year-old with a PowerPoint, deck and raise $5 million or whatever. So Robert spends 6 figures a month on new lead gen. So that number could be 250 to 500. He spends a lot of money, right? 6 figures a month on lead gen. His current database, this is dated already. It's now going to be over 700,000 leads. But it's not at 1 million yet. So they did 1,000 homes, and now they're throughout Florida. Okay. They did 1,000 homes in 17, 2,500 homes in 18, almost 4,000 homes in 19. And you can see that they basically just missed $1 billion in home sales in 19. I created the slide before coronavirus, so their comfortable goal in 2020 was 5,000 homes. I think they're still going to do it. I think they're still going to go over $1 billion when I spoke to him. But what I wanted to write down was what he told me once, which was, Howard, my goal is to build our database to 2 million leads, and I'll never have to buy another new lead again. So, if we go back to the money shot, that's at 100,000 leads, 2.3 million. What happens when he goes to 2 million leads in his database? It's just stupid. And he'll have done what no one else had the guts to do, which is to go and spend like mad. Because I looked at the stats, right? 66%, Mike, of all agents spend less than 10 grand a year. Less than 10 grand a year. He's spending 6 figures a month. And only 7% of agents spend more than 40,000 a year. You need to change your thinking. You just need to change your thinking about, investing in your business. And you can't look at, if you wanted to come to us and say, okay, we want to make this work and we got to make this work in the first 90 days, or we're out, I'm going to say, don't even come with us. Just don't come to us. You don't have the right mindset. Okay. And I always use this stupid analogy, maybe Mike will help me come up with a better one, but I always say to folks, literally think about if you were going to open up a restaurant or you're going to open up a bar. We always have like our crazy, oh man, like I've always been like, oh, I want to own a sushi restaurant because I love sushi, right? But like, if I wanted to open up a badass sushi restaurant in LA, how much is that going to cost me? And I'm telling you, the way I want to do it, there's no way it costs me less than $1 million. And there's no way I'm putting in $1 million of my own money, right? Right. So I'm running around to my crazy rich uncle and I'm getting money and I'm all this kind of stuff, right? But I'm investing money and then I got to invest in marketing and I get the word out and all this kind of stuff, right? But the real estate industry, when you look at these stats, 93% of them are not willing to spend $40,000. Now, if you spent $40,000, right, or $41,000, right, you're now in the top 7% of spenders. And so you're roughly now spending, I don't know what the math is there, someone do the math, say you're spending at least $3,300 a month. That's actually a really good size spend. You can do a lot of damage with that spend. That's really cool, okay? So the way to look at it is don't change your psychology. Don't look at like, oh, I'm spending $3,300 a month on this. That's how everyone looks at it. You need to literally set aside the 40,000. I don't care if you set aside, I don't care what it is, 24,000, right? 24,000. I'm going to spend $2,000 a month. 36,000. I'm going to spend 3,000 a month. But you've got to put your 1 year blinders on. 12 months, right? Don't look at it on a monthly basis. 12 months, okay? And guaranteed, if you've done things right, Mike, you know this, at 12 months, you're never looking back. You're going to double, triple your spend, right?
I have to interrupt you, Howard. I have to interrupt you. I have to get across a couple thoughts for the agents on here. Number one, you guys, one of the biggest problems with our industry, and I just saw it yesterday in one of those stupid top producer magazines that you actually have to pay for to be in. If your business is typically, generally, mostly referrals and sphere of influence, you are screwed. If you're going to do real estate at a high level, stop being proud if your referrals and past clients and sphere is over 50% of your business. Because what happens is, as people get older, as people move away, as technology and discount companies take your database and your sphere, you need to be replacing these people. So the average agent that does 1 or 2 deals a month, that's fine. That's from their sphere, their past client. There are people on this that want to do 50, 100 deals a year. So you guys have to trust me when I say you cannot rely on your sphere. You can't go to enough events to meet that many people. You can't go to have as many open houses. You just can't physically do it to get your database a size that is going to feed you. The second thing I want to get across is don't think you need a team for this, you guys. That yes, if you spend a couple grand a month, you're going to get a crud ton of leads. But what Howard's trying to say, and what I have to have you understand, is nowadays with artificial intelligence, more specifically Raya here, Raya is going to bring the active people, the cream to the top, so you don't have to waste your time ignoring hundreds of leads in your database. Raya will tell you when it's time to reach out to these people and talk to them. So don't say, well, I don't have a team, so this doesn't apply to me. And don't say all my business is referrals in my sphere of influence, because you're going to get kicked out of the business if that's your attitude. And the third thing I want to say is, it's just like when you go to buy print advertising back in the day, or if somebody remembers that, the salespeople always say, you won't see a benefit or an ROI for 6 months. Zillow says it, Howard says it, the Yellow Pages says it, my mailing. If you watch my farming class, which we're gonna have before the end of this, we're gonna talk about how it's the only real system that people understand. It might take 6 to 9 months to get going. This is no different, right? All we're doing is building this database bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and trying to suck to the top the people that have to move, especially in this market. We don't say want to move, we say people that have to move. And Howard is my favorite when he says that, because we don't call them leads anymore. They're not leads. These are people. These are real humans that have to move. These are real humans that are having babies, getting married. If you picture them in your head like leads, you picture X's and O's and dots and some kind of computer language that's not right. You need to picture these people as friends of yours, future friends, future past clients. These are people that you run into at the grocery store, your kids play baseball with. You can't think of them as leads. These are actual relationships. And to be able to buy this type of relationship for that kind of money, it's unheard of. You can go spend 250 grand to open up a Subway restaurant that nets you less than 100 grand a year. Think about that. Or you could spend a couple grand a month, 24 grand a year to net these ridiculous numbers that he's talking about. Like, you're going to gross 500 grand in commission. And at the end of the day, if your business is 50% without a team and you have 50% overhead, that's a lot of money. I'm gladly going to spend 24 to 36 grand a year to put $250,000 in my pocket very consistently. And I'm not a numbers guy, and you guys know this, but here's what I do know. I can't fight the numbers. These numbers are real. If you get off your butt and talk to these people, it's a numbers game. 1 out of 50 is going to buy or sell a home this week. So think of it that way. Sorry to go crazy, Howard, for a minute there, but we're right in the middle of this, and I want to get people's attention so they understand the point we're trying to get across here. Okay, take it back.
Yeah, so I'm going to sneak peek. I moved ahead, Mike. I'm going to sneak peek to another numbers chart. I am a numbers guy. Ben, you're right when you said the numbers don't lie. But
you're in my corner.
I used to have an old prez I used to deliver called not all leads are created equal. Because we just say leads, and that's one of the problems, which is prior to the advent of the portal leads. So look, there was a time I was in this business before you could even buy a lead from Zillow, Mike, or buy a lead from Realtor.com. I was in the business before then. We were producing pay-per-click leads, right? And Realtor.com and Zillow were not selling leads far and wide. So believe it or not, we had better habits as an industry prior to the release of portal leads. Because when we released Google pay-per-click leads, they were nurture leads. These people were starting to search. They were going on, they were proactively starting to search, and we had to kind of guide them through a funnel, all right? Then we had the advent of the portal leads. And the portal leads, because Zillow and Realtor.com all of a sudden were producing so many monthly unique visitors, just like 60 million a month, 75 million people a month, right? There was this numerator, although it was a small fraction, of people on there who were like, yeah, I want to go see this home this week. And so all of a sudden they started selling these leads, and people were like, yeah, these are the leads I want, because these aren't leads, these are appointments. And I want to go. And so all of the good habits we had developed about working your database and nurturing your leads, they all flew out the window for these people, because now you were just getting, like, does anyone remember in the audience the early days of Realtor.com leads before they were overselling them, or Zillow leads before they were overselling them, and before the prices were sky high on those leads? People were like, oh my God, I hope people don't find out about this, right? But that was a long time ago. Like, that's a really long time ago. And what's happened is that the prices go up and up and up and up on those leads, because they're publicly traded companies. That's what they do, right? They're going to keep driving the price higher, getting more people on it, and then conversions start coming down, and they're changing the rules of the game. And then they go to certain markets and they say, okay, we're no longer going to sell you leads. Now we got commission splits, and they're testing that, and they want to get that, moving forward, right? So everything got appended now, and then we'll see kind of where they go back to when the dust settles. But even if I was generous, Mike, and say across the country, a portal lead was $75, which we know in a lot of places it's way higher than $100, right? And again, if I'm generous to them and say you can convert 4% of those, which people could do it all day long back in the day, but I'm not hearing those numbers now, okay? You basically can get only 400 leads a year at $75 a lead if your budget was 30 grand for the whole year. That's just the bottom line. Well, I did the math. The number of leads you'd have in your database is 2,000 after 5 years, right? If you only do 400 a year. It would take you 62 and a half years to build a 25,000 lead database. Okay, it doesn't make any sense. Now, going all the way back on the other end of the spectrum are the social media leads. And the knock on the social media leads is that they are the farthest out nurtures. These are the ones where you're really investing, but you're going to build the biggest database because you can build that 25,000 lead database if it's 100% paid, right? And we'll show you how you can get it to 50,000 with free leads, right? It'll take you only 5 years because across the country, our all-in average social media lead, Facebook, Instagram, is $6. Now, Google pay-per-click leads, if you only spent 30,000 a year, would take you about 10 years to get to that 25,000 lead database because they're roughly double the social media leads. Now, why are they roughly double the social media leads? Because you've got your social media leads in this part of the river, right? You've got your Google pay-per-click leads in this part of the river, and your portal leads theoretically here, and then you got your waterfall where everyone's like, they're ready to go and there's a feeding frenzy. So what I mean by that is that what we have seen statistically, these are the pros and cons of the social media leads versus the Google pay-per-click leads. Positive on the social media stuff, you can get twice as many of them, right? You're just developing your relationship earlier. Google pay-per-click leads, they are farther down the stream, meaning they are proactively searching versus we're pushing to them in social media. So they are getting closer and you'll have less of a nurture time than with the social media leads. The problem with the Google pay-per-click leads are you do get a lot of people who know they're filling out a form. So they put in Mickey Mouse at DonaldDuck.com or 555-555. So you get statistically higher invalid bio information. And on the social media leads, we're just pulling their phone number and email from Facebook. So much higher rate of biographical validity. So those are kind of the pros and cons I kind of want you guys to know about. The magic, Mike, happens when you do both. When you basically can generate those Google pay-per-click leads, right? But now you can remarket to them on social media. And maybe you don't ask for everything. Maybe you just basically ask for one piece of information on the lead reg form, but now you're remarketing to them. That's now the next level. That's like Google pay-per-click 2.0. So kind of hopefully that sort of makes sense. And yeah. I kind of teased it to a little bit. But the critical thing here is to understand. First off, I just wanted to say, look, Zillow is going to spend $500 million a year or more on marketing, and then if you multiply that by Realtor.com, Redfin, all these other guys. Now we may see some of these other guys. I mean, HomeLight is well funded. We'll see what happens with Open Door. It doesn't matter. Like one giant publicly traded billion-dollar company or privately funded billion-dollar company goes out, another one's going to come in. But they're all going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing. And the point that we know is that our clients can't beat them on a national advertising basis. But so what? None of my clients, market nationally. You just need to beat them in your local market. And you can do that. So you need to understand the lead generation and nurture philosophy, which is, I teased it, fish upstream. Fish upstream from Zillow and Realtor.com. Develop the relationship before that consumer is ready. And I'll never forget what one of my Ylopo professors said on stage at our Ylopo Success Summit. And she said she trains her agents before they get off a phone with a lead. Do you know them? When you get off the phone, do you know them? Do you know their story, where they're from, size of their family, what they aspire to, where they eventually want to see themselves? If you know their story, you've successfully fished upstream. You now have the relationship. Okay. So, and this is kind of I have to give Mike Bernier, our friend Mike Bernier, credit here. And he came up with this great thing. Maybe he stole it from someone else, right? But It's the folks that are like 12 months out, we call them aspirers. They are thinking about what is, in the ideal world, where am I in a year? Okay. The researchers are getting closer. They're like, okay, they can really see themselves like selling and buying something else within 6 months. The ready to transact people are, let's go. Let's go look at homes. Okay. So our job and how we've built our technology so that you guys don't have to worry about doing this yourselves. We're watching as people progress from aspirers to researchers to ready to transact. And we're also nudging them along through remarketing. Okay, what is remarketing? And this is like really, really critical thing. And first off, to back it up a step, you have to have badass home search. I'm sure you guys have talked about it. I'm sure you know about it. But to attract relationships, leads, to successfully nurture leads, you've got to have great home search. There's a lot of providers of great home search out there. We're not the only ones. But we know it's so important that we never stop investing in improving home search. We just never stop. During this current crisis, we added a button. Within 7 days, we added a button to our home search, which they can now choose a virtual showing. Not just request a regular showing, they can choose a virtual showing. But there's all kinds of stuff. It just always has to progress and get better because consumers want the best home search. And if they don't feel like you have it, they're going to go look on 5 other sites. So now this is kind of a complicated slide, but it's a dense slide, right? But basically what it's saying is you can get lead sources in from a lot of places, from Ylopo, from your sphere of influence, open houses, Zillow, Realtor.com, do your own Google pay-per-click, Craigslist ads. I've got 6 things here. There's like a zillion sources we'll go through. You get them all into your fishbowl. So when we're generating leads, we're getting them into your fishbowl, right? Which is your brand. No consumer ever sees Ylopo. It's all about your brand, okay? Now we're hitting them with dynamic remarketing. What is that? Think about not just sending them listing alerts, which we do. We're sending them listing alerts via email, but we've been, as an industry, sending listing alerts via email for 12 years, right? Now it's evolved. You want to make sure if you're on technology with someone else and you're sending listing alerts, you got to make sure, number one, they're not being sunsetted like mad, because then they're not hitting anyone. And number two, make sure that they're bonded and dynamic. Write that down, bonded and dynamic. What that means is if I was looking, if I was looking up where, Mike lives, if I was looking up in, what, Mike, is Valencia a place that you cover?
Yeah.
I'm looking at Valencia, right? And all of a sudden I change and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to look in Valencia anymore. I want to look in, what's another town up there?
Newhall. Okay.
Newhall, right? I've decided Newhall's for me, school district's right for me, whatever. Okay, and now my search shifts. Your listing alerts have to shift with my change in preferences. Now, in Newhall, if I get really wedded to a particular home, like I see that, Mike sees that I looked at that home 4 times, right? There is a certain type of home I'm bonded to. Your listing alerts need to be smart enough to see that bond. And now anytime something changes in the Newhall, market, right, and we're watching the MLS feed 24/7, that relates to the home I've created a bond, or the type of home I've created a bond for, we're now sending listing alerts. We call them bonded because they're bonded to what we already know I want, right? So that's like next level. The key thing though is the dynamic remarketing. You've got to, no matter who you work with, you've got to have dynamic remarketing. Because what that says is the average consumer is on Facebook prior to the coronavirus, crisis, was on Facebook 13.3 times a day. Now it's even higher. So they're there. So shame on us if we're sending listing alerts or bonded listing alerts just through email. You've got to get it into their newsfeed. And it's not an irrelevant branded message. It's not an irrelevant home. It's all about not sending $1 million home to someone who's got a $250,000 budget, and not sending a $250,000 home to someone who's got $1 million budget. They've got to be precise, show the right home to the right person at the right time. And that's what we're doing. So every time I log into Facebook, I'm like, oh my God, there's this home in Newhall. It's exactly what I wanted. It just came on the MLS. And now I open it up. And I'm on Mike Bjorkman's, it's on his brand. It's on his branded home search experience, okay? And we've seen return to site rates double, triple when you have this dynamic remarketing. So now we're bringing them back to your fishbowl more and more and more. And now the system automatically, if we take a look at this area here, elevated search, we want to see, when does Howard look at a home more than 3 times? When does Howard share a home with his significant other? When does Howard start favoriting homes? When does Howard do all of these things? which the system says Howard is no longer an aspirer. Howard is now a researcher. He's moved downstream. And then we've got to tap Mike on the shoulder with a priority alert saying, Mike, Howard just looked at a home for the 4th time. Send them this message. Now, we also now have a system where we don't rely on Mike. Mike's out. He's doing his public speaking. He's in Minnesota, wherever he is. And we're saying Mike's not going to follow up, even though we just texted Mike. So now we have Raya do it. Raya proactively reaches out to Howard and says, Howard, notice you looked at 124 Main Street in Newhall. I've got 4 other homes. Do you mind if I text them to you? Or whatever. And she's going, and we just rewired all her scripts to be super sensitive during the current crisis. And it's getting results. Like it's really getting results. But we can rewire it like really quickly. So, now, right, we've got this system of nurture, right? And we got the system of communication, and we're moving them from researching to the ready to transact and getting the face-to-face appointments. So, Mike, I hope this complicated slide got a little easier when I explained it.
Oh yeah, it's totally cool. And let me jump in there. So I'm glad you brought this up. So Mike Bernier is obviously a very close friend of mine too. And he got this, and I wanted to point out, he got this from the National Association of Realtors, right? So there's an aspirational buyer, like we said, someday I want to buy a home. Researcher, they start looking at schools, they start asking people about neighborhoods, and transactional buyer is very important. And what I wanted to say right now about this is the more you're upfront about those stages with people, the better, so you can actually tag them as active buyers. And the script kind of goes like this with me. I go, hey, Mr. Smith, I see you're really active on the website, and I hope you don't mind if I ask you a question. We know there's a couple different types of buyers, people that want to buy someday, and people that are like, I'm pretty serious. I'm like, now I'm starting to look at schools, and I can help you with all that information. But most importantly, there's what we call a transactional buyer, Mr. Smith, and that's somebody who wants to buy a home in the next 30, 60, 90 days at the most. If they found their dream home, would you buy it? And that's the question I want to ask you, Mr. Smith. And the reason I want to ask you that question is because we have a list of off-market homes that nobody else has, nobody else gets. Our team works all day, every day to find these homes so you can avoid bidding wars, multiple offers. But more importantly, we just want to make sure we're up to date with the market. And that's why people choose to work with us. We can only work with a handful of very serious buyers. Do you think you might be a transactional buyer? If not, that's okay. I just want to know so I know what type of information to give you. I want you to enjoy our website, stay on it, have as much fun as you possibly can. It's much cheaper than the movies. But just remember this one thing that I said, and this is why I want you to save my cell phone number. If you're serious about buying, we can show you homes that no other agent can. Does that make sense, Mr. Smith? And then they're like, oh, crap. So if you're upfront about talking to people, and don't be afraid right now. People want aggressive, experienced agents that know what the heck they're doing in their market. So you have to have language with those people, because if I have a conversation like that and you just say, well, are you planning on buying in the near future? And they're like, no. And you don't ask those questions, agents like us are going to get those buyers and steal them from you. And we're going to get more committed, more serious buyers. Raya is going to pull them to the top for us. I think we call her Tiffany, but she's going to pull them all to the top for us. And then that's who we're going to work with. And then we're also going to extract those ones that are very serious about buying and go big with them. So people always wonder, how in the F do you guys sell so many houses? Like you, Mike, it doesn't even look like you have a job, but you sell all these houses. But this is why. These are the secrets behind the scenes. And that's why you, part of the coaching group, I want you guys to understand the real secrets of the top professionals in the nation. I want you to understand the technology. I want you to understand the theory. And I want you to understand the language, the scripts, the dialogues. You put all those things together and you have people like Howard and G in your corner. This is what moves the needle. This is what takes you from being a pre-corona agent to where you got lucky with your sphere and these people and sold a home or two every month or so. Yeah, big deal, whatever. Now, these people are going to be desperate for agents like us that have the technology, that have the tools, that have the language, and that have that expertise, experience, or even if we don't have all the experience, we have the team, or we speak like a professional. So take this, guys, very seriously, because I'm not bringing this to you for fun. I'm not bringing it to you because I get crap from Ylopo. I love Howard and we talk all the time just for other fun things, but I actually care about you guys. And this is the stuff that separates you from the rest. So Howard, we only have 10 minutes left and I want you to talk, just touch on some of the points of other things that Ylopo has, because I can have you on another time where we can do a bonus webinar. We've drilled this home, but these people have to know how awesome the websites are, the seller leads, they have to, or the seller nurturing program. They have to know about some of the other features of Ylopo, because that's what makes the package something that I promote so much.
Yeah, I mean, look, we haven't gone into obviously any of the tools at Ylopo, and I didn't ask you to like come on and pitch Ylopo, and you would ask me like just talk about this is more philosophical stuff.
Right.
What I want you to like write down now is literally write down numerator, because I'm geeking out on something. I'm already creating new slides in my head. Numerator, because you guys are helping me brainstorm stuff. Numerator over denominator. Use the example of Realtor.com or Zillow. They have no business. They will have no business unless they have a massive denominator. The massive denominator is the massive number of monthly unique visitors that they get to their portals. If they didn't get that massive denominator, they won't have leads to sell, or not enough of them to stay in business. Okay, that's why they spend $500 million on the marketing to drive that massive denominator. Okay, and it's the same thing for you guys, which is these Raya conversations. Mike was talking about how here's the script and here's what you say to them and all that. The cool thing about Raya is I build technology for what I call the lowest common denominator. Don't get offended, but none of us really like calling 100 people and getting 98, leave me the fuck alone, right? Nobody likes that. And usually for most agents, by the 15th call, they're done with it. And why was Raya built, right? Raya was built because she doesn't get insulted. She doesn't take vacations. She doesn't get sick. She works 24 hours a day, no coffee breaks, and she never gets offended. She has the thickest skin in the world. She just text all day. And she's saying, would you like to do this? Would you like to do that? All the stuff, right? Can I send you this? Do you want to set up an appointment? She's doing all this stuff. And when you wake up and it's Raya for the win, because you didn't have to do it, right? She did it. And now you can stop the conversation, which you need to do. Stop the texting conversation from you can name it anything, Tiffany, Stephanie, Bob, whatever, and pick up the conversation yourself. This is not about replacing you. AI is not about replacing you. AI is about getting you up to the point down the funnel where you can then stop the AI and you can actually then talk to them. But you're not going to get there. This is the key point of putting it all together. You're not going to have enough Raya conversations, which is the numerator, right? Raya, the remarketing stuff, that's the numerator. The priority alerts, we send out a massive number of priority alerts. These are all the priority actions that consumers are making to tell you. You don't have to ask them. That's the cool thing. They will tell you, they will tip their hand that they're moving from aspiring to researching to ready to transact. When they want to go see a home, when they want to schedule a virtual showing, when they want more information about a property, they're telling you, hey, Mike, I'm telling you without you having to ask me, I am moving from aspiring to researching to ready to transact, okay? But those are the numerator actions. You're not going to get enough of those at bats if your denominator is not big enough. Your denominator is not big enough if you don't build a big database. That's what we're talking about. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 3 months, 6 months. It's not going to even happen in 12 months. You have to have, like Robert Slack has, a multi-year mindset. 5 years is cool. 5 years is great. And honestly, Mike, we're not even like halfway through this press, so we could do a part 2 and really get to,
I think we're gonna have to, yeah.
Yeah. And this is like an example from Mike Bernier, right? We teach people how to get all their leads and free leads. I want to get into the free stuff too, because you don't have to buy all your leads. Get everything into the nurture machine. Look at every single source that, Mike was saying even during this, he just posted in our group, they're going to average 10 Ylopo deals a month right now, even during what's going on, okay? And you can see his conversions, all that kind of stuff. So we'll kind of, we can tease it, but here we get into the remarketing and the Raya. And really, these are really important slides to show you what happens when you add remarketing to your listing alerts. And everything gets better and better and better. We go back to the money shot. And then we talk about how to build up a massive number of free organic leads. A lot of great information there. And if you move from being paid, pure paid, to paid plus free leads, now you can get to a 10,000 lead growth a year, not 5,000. So in 5 years, you can actually build a 50,000 lead database, not 25,000. And when you get to 50,000, now you're almost, you're at almost 1.2 million in profit, and that's only at closing 1/3 of 1%. So then we talk about the multiplication effect. Anyway, you got to go. I have to go.
Yeah.
But this, like, we're only halfway through. So we got, and again, this is not about pitching us. There's other companies out there. It's you knowing what tools you need to have. And it's you understanding that, Mike, is everyone here on EXP?
No,
Okay,
only a few of them.
There's a few. So it's everybody, right? So, but, EXP was built to create this whole other revenue stream as well, besides production. Some people do it, some people don't. It was about recruiting, getting it, a downline, all that. But, this is tried and true. My clients are doing it. Okay. They're doing it. And you can separate yourself from 99.9% of all your competitors out there who are not going to do it. They are not going to build the database. If you build that database, you've built a forever income producing machine. I guarantee it. And I've been doing this for 12 years.
Awesome, dude. All right, so I just made the decision in my mind. In the next couple of weeks, I want to spend a little bit more time on retargeting, and then I want to talk about the seller nurture tools and the seller stuff, because
let's bring Gian for that one, because he's working on all the HomeBot integration, and we'll be the only ones in the industry with the HomeBot integration. HomeBot integration is going to be critical in meshing it. HomeBot alone is this, and Ylopo alone is this for seller leads. When you put them together, right, it takes to the next level. And we have an exclusive integration with them. The seller nurture stuff and the seller lead gen and seller nurture, I mean, we are beyond excited about it, because we're like, I think we're less than 30 days away from that release.
Yeah. So, one of the things I wanted to point out before you go, Howard, and you can think about this too, maybe for some of your next slides. For those of you guys listening, I'm a firm believer in work smarter, not harder, right? So when I got into business, and some of you know, some of you don't know, we didn't have internet. We didn't have cell phones. We had fax machines if you were rich. So the only way to get listings was to beat yourself brutally, meaning open houses, door knocking, cold calling, just calling out of the yellow pages. And I learned quickly that things that physically and mentally abuse me are not fun. So as technology came and as things changed, we learned how to adapt and to embrace technology. And that's what made me so different than all the other agents. So the theme that I want to make sure all you guys, as I take you through this next market, which is going to be crucial, like obviously I was the first guy that was listing over Zooms and stuff like that. Just think of this. Everything that we're going to bring you is working smarter, not harder, with massive ROI and massive, like, I'm ambitiously lazy, right? I want to be able to list homes and have them practically fall into my lap. That is everything that we're bringing to you guys, right? So if you have the skill set, the language, the technology, understanding the technology, or somebody that does, you put those things together and we're going to sell more homes. Why? Because we're more effective. We're more efficient. We're more virtual. We can do things that other agents can't or won't, right? So hang in there on this one with Ylopo, you guys, because if we get Gian for a webinar like this, it's worth millions of dollars to your future income. And this is going to be the game changer of whether you stay in the business or you brutally exert yourself and exit the business slowly and painfully. So I want you guys to stay excited about this.
I would say,
go on.
I would say, Mike, whether or not, people on today are a Ylopo client or not, we don't care. We want to help you. If you never become a Ylopo client, we don't care. We want to help you. We look at this as a partnership, right? I think for all too long, it was like vendors versus realtors and who's winning, right? And people in our community know that we're only successful. I want to be successful. You're ambitiously lazy. I'm ambitiously ambitious. I'm going to build a billion-dollar company, right? I'm not going to be shy about that, right? But I'm never going to get there unless my clients love us, right? Is everyone going to love us? 100% of them can't do it, right? But if most of them say, like, this is the greatest move I ever met, then we're going to be successful. But what I would say, whether you're a client or not, go to ylopo.com. There's a resources center. There's a resources center, and you don't have to be a client. and you're going to see some really cool stuff. We've done some webinars that are, I know, Mike, you didn't want to talk about like the here and now and the crisis. You want to talk about the future.
No, that's relevant and that's real. That's
There's
fine.
something there. You've got to watch this stuff because it's going to show you what to do. Again, you don't have to have us to have that virtual success with a buyer and virtual success with a seller right now, right? And how to talk to folks, right now, okay? So there's just a ton of stuff there. There's webinars and podcasts and all kinds of stuff. And I guarantee you that if you watch some of it, you're not going to say this was fluff, because I won't permit it. I will not permit fluff. Like,
Right.
we are in the weeds, right? Mike, you know that. It's all about delivering ROI. I've never had somebody go to our live event or webinar and say, that was just a bunch of inspirational fluff. It was like, wow, I can actually go back to work on Monday, literally take another dollar.
And that's why we have these people in this course, because there's no fluff, right? So the last thing I want to say, you guys, and I'll finish, I'm going to end the meeting, is Howard's like me. And we have the same theory like our buddy John Chuplik has taught us. We want to coach, lead, and train you better than your current broker. So if something does, and when something does change or happen, we want to be there for you. So when you go to buy leads or partner with a platform that's going to be successful, awesome. So I'm going to deliver tons of value and bring awesome people like Howard to you, because at some point when I can prove that I can coach, lead, and train you better than your current broker situation, we want to be here. So adding value and being in a position to deliver something that will change your career, that's what it's all about. All right, guys, I love you. Howard, I love you. I'll talk to you in a little bit. Thank you for everything. Let's
Also, one last point, which is,
then I'm hanging up on you.
My most successful clients, literally some of them have been people that canceled on us. Like, they first tried us, they canceled, like, oh shit, it doesn't work, right? And I've decided, I haven't even told G yet, Mike, I've decided our new mascot is the honey badger. We're getting like all these, like, my sons are sending me so many videos and memes and this and that, but there's just like this really cool video about this honey badger. Like, they could not, you got to find it. It's amazing.
Just YouTube it. Honey badger don't care.
Well, they could not come up with a way to keep the honey badger in the cage. They couldn't do it. The thing would put rocks together in trees and whatever, and unlock shit and have a friend. Like, it was crazy, right? And that's why I think G is like the ultimate honey badger. Okay, but we refused to say no. We took somebody, right, Livia Monteforte, who called me, Howard, this is not really working, whatever. I challenged her. She challenged me. She literally is so successful. She became our third ever realtor in residence. She's teaching others, right? Mike Bernier, who's killing it with us, right? At first, they canceled. We dug in with them, and now they're, he's a Ylopo professor and they're teaching. So you have to fail a little bit. You got to fail a little bit before you're ultimately going to succeed. That's my final motivation, right?
Good, because I'm hanging up on you. I got to go.
Love
Love you guys. Thank you, Howard. You're awesome, buddy. Appreciate you.